Hey, y'all.
Hola, welcome to 30 Minutes Down South. She's Allison.
And he's Carlos, and we are two top producing realtors.
With two extremely different Southern upbringings.
Join us each week as we explore the Lake Murray area with our special guests.
Welcome, Allison, to another episode of 30 Minutes Down South.
Thanks, Carlos.
Did I got you off balance again?
You did.
I like to just start a conversation and then in the middle
in the middle of it, start recording. It's all right.
Anyway, Allison,
keeping me on my toes.
We were talking before I hit record. We were talking that you've never had a Twinkie before in your life.
I have not.
What type of alien are you?
I don't know. They just gross me out, always.
I mean, I don't like them. I don't buy them. I really don't like them. But I tried them.
I mean, I know it was like a childhood rite of passage, but thankfully I skipped out on that one.
I want to know if I think that you're the very first person. It's not that a conversation that I have all the time. Hey, have you ever had a Twinkie? You know,
I think you should start asking people as you meet them.
I'm gonna start to because then I'm gonna classify people into normal people and weird.
Weird.
Sorry.
So who do we have today?
And you know what we're talking about the Twinkie?
What?
Because of sugar.
Sugar. Yeah.
I was just telling Allison that for the last week I have cut a lot of sugar from my diet. Like I used to have dinner, and every time after dinner I wanted something sweet. I needed something sweet, like being a cookie or a Twinkie. No. Or a piece of chocolate or something. Something in the afternoon, you know, if I'm feeling like hungry, you know, I put on the gas station and I get
Snickers bar.
I love the Snicker bars, you know, I love the Milky
Cup.
Way. But I've just stopped doing that.
Do you know what you can do? That's actually kind of a good substitute. A spoonful of peanut butter.
Well,
like
that's
natural
the thing.
peanut butter.
I'm not trying to trick my body into
Well, I'm not trying to trick my body. I'm just trying to. I mean, it's good for you. It's good, healthy fat.
And I can tell you
we
this.
are way off topic here.
We are. We are. It's because we're hungry.
I know.
But anyway, what I wanted to say is that by cutting sugar, I have felt a lot more energy every day. So now, you know, if you see me hyperactive or talking about that's because I haven't eaten sugar in a week.
Most people have the opposite effect. But anyway,
so who do we have today? Allison Parley.
We have Miss Priscilla Ertel, who is an interior designer in the area, and I'm excited to talk to her. We have some amazing interior designers on the lake in the Lake Murray area, and she does a lot of different things with her projects. So can't wait to hear about them.
All right, let's hear it. And welcome, Priscilla Ertel. How you doing today, Priscilla?
I'm great, guys. How are you?
We are good. Thanks so much for taking the time to come on and talk with us.
Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
All right, Priscilla, let's go straight to the point. Talk to us about your company.
Oh, so we are Haven+Harbor Interiors, local design build firm, specializing in full service interiors and helping clients navigate the design build process, whether it's renovations, large or small, or full service custom builds.
I think it's great that there are people like you out there because I cannot even imagine building a home or even renovating and having to make all of those decisions. My husband told me the other day, he was like, you can't even decide on what side you want when we go out to dinner. People like you probably save many a marriage helping people navigate.
Yes, and we joke frequently that we are not just interior designers, we are marriage counselors, because so many times you have, you know, a couple that they just really can't come to an agreement on what they like. And I have clients all the time tell me, you know, I've been trying to get my husband to agree to this decision, or my wife or my spouse, and they're like, we just can't agree. And then we'll come in and maybe even propose the same thing. And they're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. So you're not wrong.
So tell us a little bit about how your process works, because I know part of my decision-making issues is that I like so many different styles. I love the all white look, but then I love lots of color and, the blue and white grand millennial. And so how do you take a client and really hone in on what they truly want and what they're going to be happy with long term?
Yeah, we're a really process driven firm. So for us, that means spending a lot of time on the front end with the client and digging deep into how they want the space to feel. The feeling of the space, the emotions of the space, the way that clients connect with the space really drive a lot of the underlying decisions. So we ask them, to close their eyes. What are the things that they see? What are the feelings that they have? How do they want to live and function in the space? How does that space feel to them when they're sinking into it at the end of the day? Then we get into what it looks like, but that's really kind of secondary to understanding what is important to them about that space and who they're going to share it with. Our firm specifically loves to spend time in the research phase because we feel like that's where we get to be really creative and we get to learn a lot about what the client wants and then decipher all of that information. So, we'll ask clients early on to provide us with some visual cues of what they like. And we don't really even want them to over process it or over analyze it. Just have a gut reaction to an image. You might not know why you like a space, why you like something in that space. But once we start getting into our research phase, we can identify trends and see what makes a client kind of gravitate in one direction or another. And for us, we really tend to lean into things that are kind of timeless. So I love color, but I also love those all white spaces. And we have to really understand what's important to that client and what's important to them on the longevity of the design. We really don't jump on the trends as much. They're always going to influence underlying things. But I want a client to invest in a space and still love it 10 years from now, if possible, because it is a huge investment in your home and you don't want to have to change something in a couple of years because you made a snap decision.
I think that one of the hardest thing about your profession and what you do is finding that sweet spot between letting go on what you think is good and it looks good and it's a great design for you and what you've seen, and what a client believes that's what they like, and maybe going a little bit on the on the extreme side. If somebody says, "Hey, I want my kitchen to be black," and you're like, no, you cannot have a black kitchen, man. That's not practical. The resale value is going to be bad, and once you get sick of it, repainting is going to be a lot of trouble. But how do you manage that sweet spot?
Well, there's a lot of facets to that question. Number one, clients should be finding a designer that they really align with aesthetically and, that your values align. That's, first of all, any client we work with, it's likely going to be somebody that we're going to have a long-term relationship with. So we want to make sure that they're coming to us because they've seen our portfolio, they know our work. That doesn't mean that we can't design outside of our portfolio, but I think there's a lot of great designers in the area. Everybody kind of has their niche and their style, and you want to make sure you're finding a designer that aligns with that. So to that point, I love dark and moody rooms and I love bright color, but if you're the client that wants like pink everywhere and green, bold green and blues everywhere, that's just not our aesthetic. And we're okay with that. And I can reach out to the network locally and go, oh my gosh, we're not the team for you, but this designer is, because we know somebody else is going to execute it really, really well. But then to get back to your question about like, how do you help clients navigate some of those decisions? It really comes down to early on, even before they sign on as a client. We have those discovery calls. We make sure that we're a good fit. We want to understand their goals. If they're like, I want to do an all black kitchen. Okay, like we'll do that, but let's talk about it and let's educate you on the challenges to that, but also how it could also be really amazing. Or how do we take that idea and maybe modify it so you still get what you want, but we're making it more practical, because everybody's living in like the Instagram world, the Pinterest world. They see all the ideas and they're like, I want to do this, but let's talk about how that was actually executed. Not just how it was executed, but maybe how much it costs,
Mm-hmm.
how practical it is for how you live, and how it can actually apply to like a house that you're going to want to enjoy every single day.
So you hit on something that I've actually had this discussion multiple times with multiple friends recently, is the Instagram world. And I think it makes us all feel very self-conscious about, our not just ourselves, all the workout ladies, but our homes. I mean, you see these pictures of
Yes.
these beautiful homes and yards, and everything is perfect. And you're like, oh, I want that. And then you go and look at their links, and it's like, well, that's not attainable for
Right.
most people. So I mean, how do you balance budgets for people with what they see that are just beautiful high end decorated rooms to what is more of a reasonable budget for that client?
Yeah, that's a huge problem, and it's a great question. So it's something, again, we kind of really have to hit that head on early in our process. So once we have those clients on board, and again, this is a little bit of our discovery too, we want to understand early on what a client feels comfortable investing into the project and in their home. And 90 to 95% of clients probably honestly have no idea even how to answer that question. And if you would have asked me these questions, and you all have seen this in the real estate world, 4 or 5 years ago, the building industry, even the home furnishing and decor industry was so much different because we've seen such astronomical growth in prices across the board. So we have to push clients early on to really understand what their expectations are for the finished product of the project, as well as the quality of the items that we're looking at providing for their home. For us, going into a project early on in the design build also allows us to influence and educate clients on the furniture and decor side of things, because you might build a house, spend all your money on these amazing updates, and then you have to go buy a sofa from like Value City Furniture,
Yeah.
which nobody wants to spend, a few $1,000,000 to build a home, or even a few $100,000 to build a home, and then have to skimp on the thing you're going to sit on every single day. So we have to really dig into that early on. And we have different budget calculators that we utilize, that we help educate clients early on to say, you can splurge here, you can save here, we can leverage our relationship with vendors to get them best pricing. And we have a pretty wide breadth of knowledge across the industry to know, if we need to find budget friendly lighting, we're going to go here. If we need to find high end, sofas and upholstered goods, we're going to go here. And that's one of the biggest advantages of working with the designers, because that's our background and our forte and our expertise. We can really guide clients to products that are going to align with where they want to spend in the overall.
Awesome. So you you primarily work with new construction, or it doesn't necessarily, so you
Work
can
with
do just
everything.
remodeling. Okay. So
Yeah, so sometimes we'll have clients that come that just want to refresh their living room.
mhm.
And then sometimes we have clients that are doing a large scale renovation or a small scale renovation or a custom build. We really look at projects on a case by case basis, and we make sure that what the client wants out of the project and what they want out of a relationship with a designer is a good fit for our firm, and that expectation is met early on, because for us, relationships with our clients really drive everything that we do. This isn't just like it's not just another job. This is somebody's home. They're trusting us with it. We value that. And we really want to make sure that what the client wants at the end of the project is what they get.
Awesome.
I think that would probably be a rewarding job, but difficult,
It
especially if you're
is. It
dealing with
is.
people
There's
like me.
always challenges that come up, right? Like things happen on job sites, unexpected things happen during renovations, there's delays with furniture. But if you can establish that relationship early on, for us, communication, transparency, and mutual respect can solve 99% of any obstacle we're going to hit in a job site.
Absolutely.
Pre-
So,
Go ahead.
how long have you been in the interior design business?
Um, Total a little over 10 years. So my background started in the commercial space as a store designer in the early 2000s, graduated from Ohio State University with an interior design degree. And then I took about a 10-year hiatus and went into the world of nursing, and then came back into residential back in about 2018. We relocated to Chapin thanks to Carlos's help in 22, and launched our firm after having been with a firm in Ohio. Went out on my own in July, and the rest is history. And now I have a team of, there's three of us, three designers on our team, myself and two of our great team members. And we work with lots of different builders and contractors in the area, and lots of different homeowners as well. We've been very blessed to be welcomed by the Chapin community and the surrounding area.
What do you think is the biggest difference between your clients here in Chapin and your clients in Ohio? And, you know,
The style between Ohio design and South Carolina design has definitely been noticeable. There's a Southern influence that we just don't have in Ohio, and I love it. It's one of the things we absolutely love about the area. So there have definitely been some kind of, I don't want to say changes, but I've opened my eyes to things and that I never really used as frequently, different styles, patterns, colors. Um, of course, being on the lake, we have like a huge kind of like coastal influence that we didn't necessarily have in the cornfields of Delaware, Ohio. So that's been a very exciting thing. And for me, like I love being by the water. I love being in a more southern coastal kind of thing. And we're on the lake, so we love that. But that's probably been the biggest thing we've seen.
So, what would you consider a Southern influence in the design that you see often?
Yeah. So lots of like bold color wallpaper, heavily
pineapples.
patterned, like think lily pulitzer, like that's just not something, that we utilized often. And so it's kind of sneaking its way into our aesthetic occasionally. But I do think that what's been fun is that because we have a slightly different aesthetic than maybe like the traditional Southern vibe, it's something that clients seek us out for specifically. So we're a little bit more transitional, timeless, classic, a little bit more neutral, kind of like a quiet, understated, casual. And so we notice that clients seek us out for that because, like, oh, I see your portfolio. I haven't seen a ton of other designers in the area that's just like that. So that's actually been an asset for us. And again, when we have those clients that are like, I'm looking for that super bold, bright, colorful space, well, if it's not us, I've got the perfect designer for you. And there's several in the area I can refer them to.
Awesome, awesome. And when you mentioned interior designer, the first thing that comes to my mind is, oh, somebody's gonna rearrange the furniture. But now talking to you and learning more into the industry, you get to know there is a lot more than that. It's not just furniture, it's the space, it's the so. The point that I want to make is if somebody's listening to this, somebody's thinking about, hey, I want to do something different in my house. What's the process to go? Did they call you first? Did they call a contractor first? Did they call an architect first?
Yeah.
Who gets the first phone call?
That's a great question. I think if you were to ask each of those individuals differently, they're probably going to give you a different answer. But truly, if you think of the interior designer as the person that can really help you formulate a plan, you know, more often than not, we're getting brought into a project, sometimes with a contractor already on board, sometimes with an architect on board. But by the time we come in, we're going to bring in some ideas that may affect what the architect is doing, that definitely are going to affect what the contractor is doing and how they're going to bid the project. So the earlier on that you engage a designer, the better, because we're going to really kind of, again, start from the core of what do you want this space to feel like? What do you want it to look like? What's important to you? How do we translate those things into an architectural plan? How do we make sure those details are properly communicated to a contractor to adequately bid your project? Because nothing's worse than coming into a project that we get called into. Maybe we've already had architecturals done, maybe the contractors already bid the project, and now we start to see some opportunities that, like, hey, this detail could be really cool, but it wasn't accounted for in your budget. We've got to sort of back into that a little bit. So the earlier the better. And we find that several of the contractors that we partner with don't even want to give a bid on a project until we've got a design plan, because they want to know what are all these awesome details that you guys are going to come up with so we can make sure our pricing is accurate.
That makes sense because y'all are really the ones that are making the plan, and they're the ones that are executing said plan, so to speak.
Correct.
So
yeah, exactly.
What project would you say you enjoy the most? Design build, small scale renovation, like without, tearing out anything, moving walls, or I think about a lot of the homes on the lake that are much older homes built in the
Yeah.
70s, 80s, early 90s that need a really good facelift. Which of
Hmm.
those projects do you find the most intriguing?
I think the most rewarding are the projects that we're going to do like a large scale reno, and we might be limited to really change too much of the architecture, or we have to figure out how to change the architecture in a creative way. But we're kind of working within the framework of some existing things that need to stay, and they're just more rewarding because they're more challenging. Because it's kind of like, okay, I have this box now. I have to rework what's inside the box, and how do I make it make sense? And we're actually working on a project right now where we had an opportunity to rework this layout and do a larger kitchen. And it's funny because now we can't unsee the changes that we have made. I'm like, how did this client ever live with this kitchen like the
Yeah.
way that it was? But design build from the ground up is always fun too, because you're starting with the blank slate, and there's a lot of opportunities to make sure you don't make mistakes. I love every phase of design though, and every stage of it. We always like to kind of make sure that in our current workload, we're balancing smaller projects and larger projects, um, because the smaller ones are fun just to kind of get through a little bit faster. The favorite project though is always the start to finish. Like when we can come in and we can do a renovation or a build, and we can start with some of those architectural details with the end in mind of how we want to furnish it, how we want to decorate it, how we want to style, and how the client's going to live and function in it. That turnover moment of giving a client a fully composed space, there's no better feeling. And then when they walk in and they're like, oh my gosh, it's that reveal day is always our favorite sweet spot.
I love it. I love it. I
Yeah.
Do you have videos of those reveal dates and the people just like
Oh no, but it's funny you say that. We were literally just talking about this yesterday with one of my contractors. Like, we should totally get this on video. So we have one coming up. I think we might do that.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
you should definitely do
Yeah.
that.
Priscilla,
Yes.
do you also do staging for listings?
We don't. That's just not something that's a big forte for us. And staging is an awesome field and industry, but it definitely requires almost a totally different skill set in regards to just the amount of inventory that you carry, how you handle that inventory, and just how to meet the needs of realtors, and homeowners that are selling. So there are, again, a lot of great people in the area that do it, though.
Yeah. How about flips? Those are you've been doing flips too?
I haven't gotten into those yet. Flips are a lot of fun.
Hmm.
We've absolutely started to look into real estate investing. For me, the word flip has a little bit of a negative connotation because everybody's usually putting in like bottom of the barrel materials. And so that's a little bit of a hard part. And for me in the design world, because I'm always advocating for like, let's make sure we're spending our dollar wisely and that we're getting the best quality. That might not mean I'm going to put in the most expensive hardwoods or the highest plumbing fixtures, but I still want the project executed well. And I do think there are a lot of flippers out there that could actually be increasing what they're going to get on that return for investment if they were using a designer to help them make some of those decisions. Because I've seen horrible builds, I've seen horrible flips, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if you just leverage somebody else's expertise to even just make some basic material selections, it would be huge. And I'm laughing because you and I literally went through this with my own build. So I've lived it in addition to having experienced it many, many times.
Yeah, I agree. I showed a house last week and it was a flip. And my client looked at me and she goes, what were they thinking in here? And it was
Yeah.
strictly, it was the sinks in the master bathroom and it was a higher um, vanity. And then they put the bowl sinks that sit on top of the vanity. So, I mean, to lean over and wash your face, you're like, the sink's at your chin already. And she was like, this is just not even practical. And I said, no,
Yes.
not sure what they were thinking. So it was a hard no
Yeah.
for her. Just
Yeah.
that
And
one element.
there's a lot of people in that field that know the building industry and have construction expertise, but there's a lot of people that don't. And they're going to Home Depot and they're buying the cheapest flooring they can find, and that is not a bad decision in the right circumstance. But again, it's educating end users on what is that material, why does it or why does it not make sense. That's a huge part for us, is educating clients every step of the way when it comes to the build process, which materials to choose, how they're going to perform, how they're going to last, why they should avoid certain ones, because clients just don't know. They don't understand why a material from going to get, for example, a plumbing fixture at Home Depot versus going to get a plumbing fixture at a showroom are not the same. Most clients don't even know that. So we spend a lot of time educating them as to how to invest wisely.
Well, it's hiring the professional, right? Hiring a professional. It sounds. Sometimes people will be like, "Oh my God, that's extra money that I'd rather spend it on something else." But down the road, 99% of the time, especially when you hire the right professional, it pays by itself. You know,
Right,
and
right. Well, that plumbing fixture from Home Depot is great, but it might fail in a few years, whereas
correct.
the other one's going to be made out of metal interior parts and it should last you longer. And that's what they don't see. If you're just looking at what you're going to spend right now, you're not really considering the maintenance, the upkeep, the failure of the item in the future, things like warranty issues, how it's going to perform to just everyday life. So those are really key, important things. And the same thing applies to furniture and decor. When you've got clients that are looking at the cost of furniture, a really high quality sofa can be a really big investment and it can give clients sticker shock. But how it's going to perform over the next 2, 5, or even 10 years, you're going to have huge disparities depending on where you purchase that piece from.
Oh, absolutely. And I saw it with you firsthand, when we had to replace several items that were put either the wrong way or with lesser materials.
Mm-hmm.
And having you watching you how you manage that, it's eye opening, because to be honest with you, I haven't personally been exposed to many interior designers, and just seeing how can this be not just making you live in a place that you like better, but also prevent stuff like that, stuff that breaking too early,
Right.
or it's. I mean, it is worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Spend a little
Yeah.
more money up front to not have to spend a lot more money down the road.
Right, right. And my background being fairly heavily focused in the design build world, I've spent a lot of time on job sites with contractors. So I've had really good teachers, and I'm just a naturally inquisitive person anyway. So I have taken it upon myself to learn a lot about the design build process because I want to make sure when I'm walking on a job site, I want to know, yes, that framing's correct. Yes, that rough fitting's correct. Yes, the way that that contractor is doing this is getting executed as would meet industry norms. Not every interior designer does design build, but the ones that do and that do it well need to be educated in those things because it's instrumental to the execution of the project. We never look at ourselves as a project manager in terms of like, we're always a collaborator with the contractor. They run their job sites, but we want to be informed as well because we're advocating for the client. The clients are expecting us to know when something isn't right and to speak up on their behalf. So working in tandem with the contractor and knowing those things on the front end is super important for us.
I agree. What do you think is the biggest challenge on your profession?
I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand exactly what an interior designer does. We get referred to as decorators a lot, and that's not a negative connotation, but it just isn't an exact representation of what we do. Designers are more qualified in that they've got to have some of that background with construction knowledge, space planning. There's just more detail to it. I also think that in general, because there are so many different designers that do different things, as we were just talking, clients don't always know when to call a designer, who to call. Are they getting the right person for their job? There's just so many layers to the industry in and of itself. It's also challenging, I will say, being a female in a male dominated industry with design build. And we do run into challenges with contractors not always taking us seriously, or the eye rolls when we walk onto a job site. Because unfortunately, I think there are designers that have created like a really negative connotation of what a designer is and what their role is, and that we're just there to complain and make everybody's job harder. That's not how I approach things. And so we feel like we always have to like work with new contractors to show them we're here to be a good partner with them.
That's awesome, though.
That's awesome. Well, we're running out of time, Priscilla. This is a great conversation. I enjoyed it a lot.
Thanks. We always love to share because again, like we just talked about, people just don't know what designers do half the time.
Awesome. So where
They
people
don't.
can find you?
Yes.
You can follow us on Instagram, haven.and.harbor, and havenandharbor.com, and on Facebook at Haven and Harbor Interiors. And we're located here in Chapin. No physical location yet, so you can't stop in to see us, but we love phone calls, emails, texts, all the things.
That's great. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing. Sounds like you have a great business
Yeah.
going.
Thanks for having us, and we really appreciate you guys talking to us today.
Awesome. Thank you, Priscilla.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
That was cool.
She's great.
She is, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
she
she's
is.
awesome. And her job is pretty nice too. If you go to their website and check it out, they beautiful pictures. I know a couple of her clients, and they've been pretty happy with her.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, what else can you ask? Somebody's gonna make your living space much better, and it's gonna save you money at the same time.
Only I know what else I could ask.
Food.
Somebody to pay for it.
Well, you know. Yeah, exactly. How do you do that though? You can't.
You can't. I can ask you.
Anyway.
But anyway, check her out. She's got some great work.
I would definitely check their website and see, and get a consultation. You know, if you're thinking about renovating, if you're thinking about building a new house, if you're thinking about she'll be a great asset to pick up the phone and call. Hey, just starts by it really
Having
actually
a conversation.
Yeah, it really starts with a conversation.
Yep.
I'm thinking about, and a lot of times we see that when we show houses, you're you're looking at the time, right? We're running out of time, and you're telling me you're
And
hungry.
I'm hungry.
Well, a lot of time what I'm trying to say is that when you walk and you showing a house, and your client is like, well, if I can change this, if I can change this wall from here, I can probably renovate this room, and it's all nice and pretty, but you know that the experience is not there.
That's right.
And you know that, hey, if you haven't done this before, just so you know, it's not as easy as it shows in HGTV, where people, do a major renovation.
Do it 3 days later, the whole house is new.
And their hair doesn't even move from their heads, So that's not how it works. But anyway, 30 minutes on the nose.
30 minutes. See ya.
Okay, bye. Bye to you too.